This is a model of a normal adult spine. And if we look at the normal adult spine, this is the base of the skull right up in here. Here's your two hip bones. This is your right hip and this is your left hip. We are now looking at the back of the spine. All right? The spine should be fairly straight. This one's a little crooked. Should be fairly straight. Okay? You see these little bumps here? Do you ever see little bumps that go up and down your back there? Okay? Those are called spinous processes. That's what these things are right here. They're little portions of the spine. These are one of the things that we feel as we're going along your spine here. Now, if we were to look at the spine from the side, there's normally 4 curves to the spine. There's 2 curves that go to the front. One's up here in your neck, one in your lower back that go towards the front. And 2 curves go towards the back part of you, that's in the mid-back and down here by your buttocks. Now what anatomists have done is they've broken up the spine into different areas, different segments, because certain vertebrae have certain characteristics, so it's easier to study that way. For example, in your neck, there are 7 cervical, or what we call neck vertebrae. In your mid-back, there are 12 thoracic, or what are called dorsal vertebrae. These are the vertebrae to which your ribs attach. There are 5 lumbar, or low back vertebrae. Now if you look closely, you see this vertebrae here? It looks like an inverted triangle. Okay, everybody see that? That's called your sacrum. Your sacrum, in combination with your 2 hip bones, make up what's called your pelvis. That's what the foundation of your entire spine and body rests on. So it's very important. This little tiny bone down here, this is the coccyx. That's the true tailbone. You know, people come in here complaining about, geez, Doc, I got this problem with my tailbone. They're usually referring to the sacrum. The tailbone is this tiny little coccyx that you see down here. Now, in between the vertebrae, we said there was what?
Discs.
Discs, right? What the discs do is they act as a shock absorber to your spine. These little green pads that you see here, these are the discs that you've heard of. They're in between the vertebrae. And when the vertebrae come together, they normally form a hole or an opening through which the spinal nerves come through. These little green things you see here are spinal nerves. There's 31 pairs of these in the entire body. They go out to all your different organs and tissues and cells. All right? Now, let me show you where you are here. Here's your lower back. We're looking at it from the back. Here are those little spinous processes we told you about, those bumps, okay? Picture now I'm taking this lower back and I'm turning it to the side. Okay, everybody with me? Okay? Here's what you see. Here's those spinous processes from the side. This white part of the vertebrae here, that's right there. This is called the body of the vertebrae, this big white section. These green areas in between here are what? What are they?
Discs.
Discs. Okay, this hose-looking thing coming out here is what?
The nerve.
The nerve. Good. Okay, everybody's with me. Okay. Now what I did was, here's another little model of the low back so you can see this a little bit better. This is the same thing we're looking at, these 4 vertebrae. Again, this is that spinous process. You can see that from the side, okay? Here's the body of the vertebrae. This is the disc. Now what I did was, I took out the nerve here so that you could see that when the vertebrae come together, see this hole? Everybody see that hole here? Can you all see that? Okay, that's where the nerves come through. They come through these holes, right in there. They come out on both sides of the spine. Both sides. All right. So let's look at this now. This is a side view of your lower back. Let's look at a normal relationship, because before you understand what's abnormal, you got to know what normal is, right? Okay, right down in here, that's normal. This is a normal relationship. I want to show you something. You see how one vertebrae lines up right on top of the other one? Look at the disc in between there. It's nice and big and thick. That hole where the nerve comes out of, you see how big that hole is? Okay. Oh, we got a little lightning here tonight too. Okay, see how big that hole is? That's good, because now that nerve can come right through there the way that it's supposed to. That's an optimum structural relationship. That's what you all want. You know why? Because that means that whatever organs are being controlled by that nerve, they can work right, because the nerve is not interfered with. There's nothing wrong with that nerve. Okay, can everybody understand this? Great. Here's the problem. This is the subluxation. What happens with the subluxation, first of all, is the vertebrae literally moves out of position. It gets thrown out of alignment. Okay? First thing, what happens to the diameter of that hole when the vertebrae gets moved out of alignment? Smaller, smaller. That's right. What it actually does is it occludes the opening and compresses the spinal nerve as it comes through. You would say, well, geez, Doc, fine. I mean, I can understand that, but Man, it must take an awful lot of pressure to do something like that, right? Here's what I want you to do. I want everybody to lightly take your finger and just place it right against your eyelid. Just lightly touch your eyelid. Just like that. Okay? Now what you're experiencing there is roughly 45 millimeters of pressure of mercury. You can take your hands down now. The latest chiropractic research at the University of Colorado has shown that as little as 45 millimeters of pressure of mercury on a spinal nerve root will cause that nerve to dysfunction up to 60% in a matter of minutes. 60%. Now that's not a heck of a lot of pressure. I mean, our spines are subjected to far more pressure than that every day. But can you imagine now, if that much pressure is on that nerve up to 60%, you know what that means? It means that your body's working with maybe only 40% of what it's supposed to be working with. And that's not a lot of pressure. That's probably the main thing with the subluxation is the pressure on the nerves. Okay? The thing about subluxations is we also call them silent killers, because you know what? You don't have to have a symptom for one of these things to be in here. Now I recognize that most of you came walking through that door because you had some kind of symptom, because your body just couldn't take it anymore and it was giving off some kind of warning sign. I understand that. What I'm also trying to tell you is that there doesn't have to be a symptom present for a subluxation to be present. There's a neurological reason for that. Only 20% of your nerves are pain sensitive. 20%. And there's a good side and a bad side to that. The good side is, thank God, it's only 20%. Imagine if it was 50%. I mean, half of you would probably be in comas by now. Okay? The bad side of that is just as what we were talking about in the beginning here, Frank, is that people, if they don't feel it, then they think they're okay. And it don't work that way either. Okay? So it's a catch-22 here. We have to understand physiologically how the body really works. There's a couple other things that happen in here. I'll just bring it to your attention. I want you to look at this disc. It's pretty big and thick, right? See this thing, how it's kind of sticking out a little bit there? How many people have heard of a slip disc in here before? Okay? All right. Let me tell you something. It's a misnomer, okay? The disc really doesn't slip. It's the vertebrae that goes out of alignment. All right? I'll give you a simple analogy. I like working with analogies. It helps a little bit. How many people have ever had a scooter pie in here before? Did you ever have a scooter pie?
Years ago. I'm embarrassed to say.
Carolyn's getting hungry back there. Okay. Let's say that these vertebrae are the cookie portions on a scooter pie. All right? And let's say that the marshmallow is like the disc in here. It's like a cushion. Now, first of all, you know, on a scooter pie, if you wanted to separate the cookie portion from the marshmallow, you really can't do that without the whole thing crumbling apart on you. And why is that? That's because the marshmallow's baked into the cookie, right? Well, in the body, you have the same type of a situation. You can't literally just separate the vertebrae from the disc because the disc is baked in, if you will, to what's called the vertebral end plates. Now, if I was to take the top layer on one of those scooter pies and kind of push it out to the side, what's going to happen to the marshmallow? Where's it going to go? It's going to go with it. That's exactly right. That's exactly what it's going to do. And that's what you got here. Now, of course, if you went to your friendly orthopedist, he'd say, aha, well, you got a problem with your marshmallow, let's go in there and cut it. But the chiropractor said, the problem's not with the marshmallow, the problem's with your cookie. Okay? What we got to do is we got to realign that thing, bring it back to normal to get that disc to come back in there. Okay? And things will line up. So again, slip disc is really a misnomer. It doesn't really exist. Okay? It's the vertebrae that goes out of alignment. Lastly, look back in here at the back part of this vertebrae. See how there's a pretty good height of the disc at the back part of the vertebrae here? All right? How about back here? Not too much there, okay? What did we say was the function of the disc before? The disc acts as what?
Cushion.
Cushion, a shock absorber, right? And what happens is when any forces come down on the spine, normally this will absorb the shocks and you'll be okay. But what happens is when there's a subluxation, the vertebrae goes out of place, the forces that go on the spine now the disc cannot react to that properly. So what absorbs all the shock instead? The vertebrae itself. And if this subluxation stays present, and if it's not corrected, what will happen is literally that vertebrae will start to wear away and wear away and wear away that disc, literally to the point where if it's not corrected, that vertebrae will wear itself right into the other one. Now, do you know what you call that? Well, it becomes a fusion of the vertebrae. That's called degenerative joint disease or osteoarthritis. That's a form of arthritis of the spine. Now, here's the point. You could go around here for years and years and years and supposedly have this slip disc that goes out on you once or twice a year, and you think all you got to do is lay down in bed for a week to 10 days, and you get up and you're fine, and there's nothing wrong with you. Or you could go around for years and years, and finally one day somebody takes an X-ray and says, aha, well, your problem is you got arthritis of the spine. Well, great. How did it get there? Did it crop up overnight? Okay? But the most important thing with this is the subluxation, is the nerve pressure. You know, if you lose, 60% within a matter of minutes, I can tell you unequivocally, most of you are walking around here with subluxations for years. Your body hasn't been working right. It's, if this thing goes in a matter of minutes, if this is going to your stomach, your heart, your gallbladder, your intestines, your leg muscle, I mean, do you want your organs not functioning right, or do you want them functioning right? Let me ask you. Okay? And that's the problem, is the nerve interference. Your body will never function right. I don't care what pill you take, what exercise you do, what guru you go to, who you pray to, whatever you do, if there's a subluxation there present, and it's pressing on a nerve, causing a shut-off of the life flow from the brain down to the tissue cells, you'll never be healthy. Never. I don't care what you do, you'll never be healthy until you get that corrected. And that's what I do. That's what chiropractors take care of, are subluxations in your spine, getting rid of the interference so that the brain can now communicate with all the different organs and tissues of your body, and you start to work right. Now,